Hi guys, welcome back to the Alpha Customs YouTube channel. So many of you might be thinking, why on earth is he in the office today and not by a car? That is a very good question, and the answer for that is that many of you guys have asked me how I started this business and what I did with my first ever project car. So I'm going to talk about that today. And if you are new to this channel, my name is Andrew, and on this channel I talk about things I do on my own personal vehicle, which is a BMW 4 Series, on my project car, which is a 7 Series E38, and also my customers' cars, which vary from BMWs to other cars, even though many of you might be thinking that I only work with BMWs. However, this is not the case, and I do work with other cars. However, my main customers are mainly BMW, as I am more comfortable working with BMWs compared to other cars. So let's go through the things that I did in order to start off my first ever project car, which was a BMW 3 Series E46, and this was a coupe. So many of my followers on Instagram may not know this, and many of my friends may not know this too. However, I have had around 5 to 6 E46 BMWs. Some of them I've kept, some of them I've scrapped, some of them I've fixed and I've sold, but many of you guys probably didn't know that. However, I'm going to talk about that today as well, and you guys get a little insight on how I started this whole business using my E46s. So now I'm going to put a picture on the screen which shows my E46 when I first ever bought the car. So I was 17 years old when I first bought this E46, and insurance prices were skyrocket during this time. So at that time it was really hard to get insurance on that car. So I bought it at 17, and this was just like 1 month before I turned 18. So I only insured the car once I turned 18. However, I started doing mods to it as soon as I got it, and it was on my driveway, and I was like, okay, this is it, let's get this bad boy alphamized. So here we go, and this is the picture. So many of you might be asking the question, why on earth does he need a BMW at 17 years old? That's a very good question, and the reason is because I wanted to be a cool kid at 17 years old. And no, that's not the reason. The reason is because I wanted to start this business very young, and the only way I would do that is by having a car that I can work on myself. And just before this, I had a Peugeot 106. As soon as I passed my exam, I bought that for £225, and I sold it for £300, and I thought I was some sort of big businessman by just making a £75 profit at 17 years old. So that was my first ever car, and I'll leave the picture right now. So this is my 106 Peugeot, which you can see it's a banged up little banger that you can just drive around. It's like go-karting, and you can just park anywhere, you can do whatever you want, and the car's only worth £225, and the insurance was probably 4 times this much for me at that age. So it wasn't really great. But yeah, that was my first car for 2 months before buying the BMW. And then once I bought the BMW, as you saw in the picture earlier, it was pretty stock, but it was an M Sport package. So it had things such as Harman Kardon sound system, it had red interior seats. That's the only reason that I bought that particular BMW, because the seats on it were so rare, and it was a cinnamon red. So I'll leave that picture now so that you guys can see it. Also, it had angel eyes which were pretty dead, and they were depot headlights, and half of the bulbs were out. So my first job was to change the lights on that, and the first time I did it, I gave it to a guy. He spliced the wires up and he did it, and a few months later it stopped working. So I was like, okay, this is pretty messed up. But then I went on to doing it myself. First time I did it, I need to agree, it wasn't going as planned. Things started messing up, and I was like, okay, where does this wire connect? Where does that wire connect? And I asked one of my friends who live in East London to help me out, and he helped me out, and he actually put the lights on for me. And these were RGB lights, so as an 18-year-old you want to get into all those cool lights, so I had like RGB color changing lights and stuff. So he helped me with that, and after a while I got sick and tired of that, and I just wanted white angel eyes. So I went on to take on this challenge by myself. I put on white angel eyes and I put red demon lights. So I'll show you the picture for that right now. And here is the picture of the RGB lights. And leave a comment below and let me know which headlights you preferred. Was it the RGB ones or the white angel eyes with the red demon eyes on them? So this was one of my first mods that I did on the car, and then I went on to change the alloy wheels, I changed the exhaust, I didn't change the diffuser on it, I kept the same diffuser, but I changed loads of things such as tinting the car, basically just trying to make it a bad boy car, in simple terms. And if you looked at that car, then you would think that you're about to get stopped. And that's what happened with me. I used to get stopped by police for unnecessary stuff just by having that car, and it got to a point where it was just getting stopped and stopped and stopped. Each day I used to get stopped in a week, and it got too much. However, I then went on to interior mods. I started doing stuff like iPad conversion, so I wanted the car to be unique, so I made an iPad mold which I got custom made, and then I fit and wired an iPad into the actual fascia of the car, and I'll leave a picture to that right now. So this is the iPad inside the car, and this was routed to a radio so that it comes out of my actual sound system from the car. So enough of me talking about the car. Let me show you guys a few videos of the car and how it was when I had it, and the mods that were on the car, and a little progress of how it looked from the start to the end, and then we'll talk about the rest. So hope you guys enjoy these little clips. So this was my little E46 journey. I didn't want to make this video too long where I'm just blabbering about the E46. However, if you do have any questions about it, please do leave comments below or drop us a DM on our Instagram, and then we can make a future video going in depth on what you guys want to know about the E46s. However, if you are looking to buy a BMW E46, the things that I'll look out for is, don't go for a 318. I know it's cheap to buy, but the engine is absolute rubbish. Straight up, 318 CI is a dead engine, and there's no point buying an E46 with a 318 engine, because you tend to have problems such as head gasket problems, such as oil mixing with water, things like that, which happen on the 318s. If you were wanting to buy an E46, the one that I would recommend is quite costly, but it's the most fun to have. It's a 330 CI, and I have not actually owned a 330, I've owned a 325, which was okay. However, I've driven a 330 and the drive on that is wonderful and it's amazing. I personally had a 320d as a project car, which also gave me no problems till I went and gave it to a garage, and I gave the car working and they gave it back to me not working, and that ruined my whole dream project. But yeah, I didn't want to go into changing the engine and things like that for that car, so after that I just sold it for parts, and got rid of the car and bought a 5 Series F10 after that. However, let's keep this video short and let's stop talking nonsense and stay to the point. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, I had a few other E46s, and these were 318s, 325s and 320Ds that I mainly had. And I was so close to buying a 330, but it just got sold before I went to buy it. So for those of you who want to buy an E46, go for the 330. And since there's ULEZ bans in the UK, you can't really go for a 320D unless you live out of London. However, they were really good cars too. So that's the little E46 project. And if you guys do have any questions, please do leave your questions below in the comments. And the last thing that I want to include in this video is how I started Alpha Customs using the E46. That is a question that I've been asked multiple times, so I've thought, let me just do a video on it. So here it is. So when I bought the E46, I did not know anything about cars. I knew nothing about head gaskets, I knew nothing about doing radio, subwoofers, angel eyes, lighting, none of that. And all I did was trial and error. And the thing that you need to know when working with cars is, mainly if you're working with the electronics, the ground and the positive, and that's in the battery, the red wire which is for plus and the black wire which is for ground. These two wires, you don't want them anywhere near each other, otherwise you're going to blow up the car. And these two are main wires that you want to look out for while doing any electronic work on the car, as you don't want them to touch each other. So luckily for me, I knew that, and I started on with my electronic work and took out the battery before carrying out any work when I started. And then it was all trial and error, and then from there I started doing it for friends, and friends liked my work and they were like, why don't you start a business? And then I started getting coding softwares, started doing coding, and then in order to make my money back, I started to putting it up to say, okay, I offer coding and I offer headlight stuff to people just out and about on like Facebook, when I used to have Facebook, and people used to come. And then from there I was like, okay, let's start Alpha Customs, and here we are. This is Alpha Customs, and I look to expand this business much further in the future, and let's see where it goes. And without you guys support, I won't be able to do this. So thank you guys, for all of you guys that are watching this video, for supporting me from the start till now and continuing to support me. Thank you guys. So I want to end this video now and not talk too much, but I promise you guys the next video will be next to a car, and I'll be doing something on my project car. So till next time, peace. And if you did like that video, please do remember to like, subscribe and comment.